They describe themselves as revolutionary, anti-capitalist, anti-fascist. They call for queer self-determination. Here's a lot of their signs. DeSantis is a fascist man, and the Dragon book ban. Yeah, good for you guys. Look at them. I was really surprised by how seamlessly this all happened, and they're talking about why they were there, and she then starts to say,
and I think that was also what's so cool about Mayday Brigade, which...
Oh my gosh, is that a dude?
You're trying to run down all of that to see if that's accurate. Who else may have been on that thread? What they may have known. Is that fair to say?
It's a lot more than that. We're running them all down.
It's a lot more than 20?
Yes, sir.
And you're running all of that together.
Every single one.
Yeah, fantastic.
The armed queers of Salt Lake City have started to delete their accounts and gone into hiding. We've got a bunch of details on who they are, what they stand for, and these posts from their social media accounts also shared here today. They're telling us that they have deleted their social media accounts, and they did that the day Charlie Kirk was killed. And here's some of their posts that people grabbed before. Armed queers, Salt Lake City, with the logo. AQ with bullets. They said here on another Instagram story, Charles James Kirk, Mr. College dropout, who's had more success than any of them. We saw this one yesterday. Does not know what's coming. Tomorrow, be ready. This isn't a threat, it's a promise, remember? And so that person, we saw that was being investigated by the FBI, and apparently that was an armed queer. So they had 6,600 followers over on X. You can see over on Instagram. They posted, armed queers are a revolutionary LGBTQ organization dedicated to defense and success for oppressed people's movements. Join us. So they had a bunch of posts on there. They had 6,000 followers, 160 posts, and they've nuked their account. Authorities are now probing them, reviewing online activity of this group and others. One of them is called Armed Queers, Salt Lake City, a Utah-based group. And here's what they look like. Oh my goodness. With a medic bag. Got it. All right. So they're also hosting forums, protect trans children, and we're going to make your straight children trans, whether you like it or not. They have events, Armed Queers, Salt Lake City, hosting forums amongst themselves. And here's their little calling card. Isn't this just amazing? So the 6 principles of Armed Queers, Salt Lake City. All right. So here's what they stand for. So 6 principles. Here's one. The armed and militant protection of queer and trans communities and all oppressed people, whatever that means. I don't even know what it means. The end of capitalistic oppression and exploitation and the movement towards a socialist society. These are these people. They also want number 3, trans liberation from the gender binary and biological essentialism, not assimilation. They're freaking nuts, man. What is this? They want to be liberated from the binary system and biological essentialism. So they want everybody to just be kind of a neutered individual, right? All the distinctions between men and women gone, all of the biological essentialism, like the things like, you know, like you're born with certain body parts and certain hormonal profiles, and we have different chemicals in our bodies that our bodies make for us and all these things. So they want to just forget all of that. You're just a neutered like robot. Chop your genitals off, chop your breasts off, and just be this transhuman kind of creature that society creates under scalpel and pharmaceuticals. And they want 4, housing as a human right. Yeah, lots of this, right? Everything's a human right. You have a right to everything, including housing, and necessity not to be profited from. And so put an end to landlordship. So these people are mad at their landlords. Okay, just go buy some property, make some money and go buy some property. Be your own landlord. So they want government housing. It's a human right. Everybody gets housed, including all the illegals and trans. They also want to abolish police and prisons as they serve as nothing but oppressors. These are these people. And here you go, number 6, the end of the bourgeois, which is the bourgeoisie, and the proletariat, according to Karl Marx, shall replace them in this new communistic society. Assimilationist LGBTQ organizations, the start of radical queer and trans organizing. And look at this person's disgusting fingernails. What a disgusting person. Of course, that's what they would be doing. Wash your fingernails out. Wash your hands for once in your life, you disgusting person. According to archive materials and reporting, the group promoted events in 2023 that featured imagery and rhetoric aligned with radical trans themes. And in past interviews, a group representative said the organization's activism was grounded in opposition to racism and transphobia and capitalism, and they accepted personal risk in service of that mission. Now, sources also with knowledge of the investigation told investigators that armed queers took down at least one social media account on the day of Kirk's death. Law enforcement officials are reviewing whether any individuals or networks connected to the group or to other online communities, including gaming platforms and social pages, and we saw that yesterday with Discord, had prior knowledge of or provided material support to the shooter, Tyler Robinson, who was dating a trans dude. Federal and state authorities are assisting local investigators. They've also collected and cataloged a number of social media posts. Several of those posts have now been deleted or made private. Law enforcement sources caution. They say, well, some of the material appears ominous. Much of it remains unverified, maybe hyperbolic. And as we saw yesterday from Andy No, he posted explaining that even one account just like did that every day, right? They're like, oh, something's going to happen on this day. Something's going to happen on this day, and just like got one randomly. Officials have said they're exploring whether the shooter's relationship with his trans roommate may have intersected with all those things. And we already saw that yesterday with that Churm Berm account that was following the trans roommate, who was also retweeting, "We got him," from Charlie Kirk. So who is that dude? State officials have confirmed that investigators continue to review electronic messages and other evidence relevant to the motive. A lot of this stuff is unverified, unofficial. And so, yeah, there is clear political expression, like you're allowed to organize, right? Organize. We have free association. We can create our own groups. But were they assisting in the murder? We'll have to find out. Authorities have not announced criminal charges yet. Of course, they will soon. Now, more on this group. She posted this amazing thread, and she explained, you know what? This armed queers situation may be connected to the UN and to the State Department. Actually, it's not a may, it's confirmed. She says, Armed Queers SLC is under investigation for possible foreknowledge of the assassination. Their leader is this person called Aria Fenian, and she was recognized by a State Department affiliated NGO called Utah Global Diplomacy as a recipient of the 7 for 17 award for advancing the UN's 17 goals, which I guess is to arm queers in America. Utah's Global Diplomacy has since scrubbed her presence from their website, nuked it. Unknown when this purge happened, but the receipts remain, and this is the person. Aria Fenian. Utah Global Diplomacy. So we know how this goes, right? It goes like there's one major funder, usually the American taxpayer, goes to like USAID, goes to the State Department, funnels it out to a ton of different organizations, funnels it all back down to a trans militia who may have killed Charlie. Interesting. So they said Utah Global Diplomacy is one of the middlemen, says that proud to announce our first 7 for 17 award winner, Ermia. The 7 for 17 award recognizes young Utahns who are working to achieve 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in Utah, whatever those are. Yeah, here you go. Check it out. Says Ermia Fenian is a trans liberation and feminist political organizer. So why is the UN funding that crap in our country? Why do we allow that to happen? Why do we allow foreign money coming in to fund all of this type of stuff? Is it tax exempt? Where's it going? So work has included organizing around the abortion struggle and creating research studying the conditions of gender oppressed people at the hands of state institutions. So in other words, do we give money to the United Nations? Does any American dollars come into that? And why are we allowing this propaganda to come into our country? So Data Republican says this is what pops up when you search for her name in connection to Utah Global Diplomacy. They scrubbed everything. Oh, she's not a graduate. She was one of the first people to get it. Now nobody wants to talk about her. It was on there. This looks like it's from a Google cache, right? She's a trans liberation and feminist political organizer who's getting funded by foreign entities to come in here and change American politics and to figure out why trans people are oppressed. Like, no wonder they think that they're so oppressed or need to organize. They're getting tons of money to do so and tons of support. You're a recipient. You're a 717 founder or whatever it is. Oh gosh, none of this infrastructure existed. Maybe they wouldn't exist. Maybe they're being propped up by them explicitly. And yes, she was an organizer with the Armed Queers. Here you see, she clipped this article. Yep, the protest was put on by students for a democratic society in response to the presentation. Another article, the entrance was guarded by 10 police officers. And here, this article says, Ermia Fenian, an organizer for Armed Queers of Salt Lake City, stated the struggle for queer and trans liberation is far from over. And it's a struggle that cannot be stopped by the state. What do you mean? You're going to revolt against the state? It cannot be stopped by the university administration, she said, and it certainly cannot be stopped by right-wing events or organizations. Today, we fight for trans rights so that tomorrow we stand in our trans power. One of the weirdest cult freak shows you've ever heard of. So here again, she posted over here, Ermia Fenian. Here she is, all over the place. Political organizer and educator with Armed Queers, Salt Lake City. She referenced it. Salt Lake protests. Ermia was there, an organizer with Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. Another one, disruptive protest. Ermia Fenian is a student at the Utah and works as an organizer for Armed Queers. Okay, all over the place. Now she's running away from them because she's like, oh crap, we killed Charlie. Charlie. So per the 990 form for Utah Global Diplomacy, Data Republican, who got the data, it's a nonprofit. It's a partner with the U.S. State Department. Okay, it goes U.S. State Department, Utah Global Diplomacy to trans militia groups to cultivate emerging leaders and diplomacy initiatives. So in other words, she was selected to help shape U.S. foreign relations. Okay, that's what they said, not Data Republican. Here's the form. To promote and respect the understanding between the people of Utah and other nations. Yeah, UCCD serves as a nonprofit sector partner with the State Department's professional and cultural exchange programs. Yeah, we got it. And they say right there, their goal is to help shape U.S. foreign relations one handshake at a time. And, you know, I'm getting real tired of all this foreign money here. I don't care where it is, or people going on these trips to foreign countries. And I think there's like 250 people, 250 state legislators in Israel right now. It's like, what are you doing? It's a little too close for comfort. Anyways, so Data Republican says Fenian was selected as the Utah Global Diplomacy first 7 for 17 award winner, honoring her work to advance UN's 17 sustainable goals. I'm pulling together the exact nature of the work, and so here it is. She's getting, money, it looks like, from us. Utah Global Diplomacy got most of its income in government grants. What a disgusting thing. Utah's Council for Citizen Diplomacy promotes an understanding between Utah and other nations, and it's coming from the U.S. government. Look at that. Government grants. There you go. $500,000 goes right over there. Now, she also finds mention of Fenian on a UN website where she was a speaker at an affiliated event. So she was there talking about LGBTQ stuff. In fact, she moderated it with a bunch of other people. And she was also honored as a young diplomat of Utah. Now, she's trying to trace the exact award, but it seems they've applied for awards at the Utah level as well. So our federal level and the states are doing it too, saying their entire 7 for 17 site seems to be scrubbed. Look at all these programs. They deleted everything. How come? Well, we know why. Now, very ironically, she also appears to have co-founded the Utah chapter of March for Our Lives. David Hogg, if you're serious about gun control, you might want to kick out this person who runs an armed pro-gun group. David Hogg's best friend is arming the trans. Now, many others have done research on this woman, and SK Double Dub, thank you for the tip. Now, we're talking about a young woman honored by the State Department affiliate NGO, put forward as a foreign policy leader, and she was running an armed ideological trans militia group at home that's revolutionary, that hates capitalism, that wants to see the bourgeoisie thrown out and organize to make that happen. None of this is to suggest the State Department had any involvement in this assassination. No, we're just funding it. But this is the kind of person who is picked from a young age on staff to the State Department, tagging Eagle Ed Martin and Harmeet Dillon. Yeah. Oh, she's a Palestinian immigrant and an express communist. That's great. Can we deport her? Great question from Data Republican. Yeah. So why are they here? Iranian is what they're saying. Interesting. And Jammies also posted this. They deleted their Instagram, Jammels. They deleted their Instagram, Armed Queers, calling them a socialist LGBTQ plus collective. They were founded in the summer of 2020 with all that BLM money that came in. They describe themselves as revolutionary, anti-capitalist, anti-fascist. They call for queer self-determination. Here's a lot of their signs. DeSantis is a fascist man, and the Dragon book ban. Yeah, good for you guys. Look at them. All right, Jammels. Guns is a core strategy. You've got that. Founders and Instagram, they deleted the whole thing. Fenian also, wow, they're shooting guns with their COVID masks on. That's fun. My name is Aria, she said, and I'm a student at SLC. For the past 3 years, I've worked as a socio-political organizer that our State Department has been funding, and maybe Utah has been funding, and co-founded March for Our Lives. And of course, they are shooting pink pistols. So that is the group, and they're under investigation. They deleted a bunch of other things. Shout out to Elle at some B I know over on X. She's awesome. And she's been digging into these groups as well. And she is explaining to us that these groups, they organize via these zines and pamphlets. And so she chronicled a lot of these things, right? And so they kind of write these newsletters. These people fight. I thought you were not allowed to say that F word. Can you say that word? All right. So Defend Pride, Direct Action Handbook, and they're all getting organized. Stop the violence. Queers fight back because they think they're getting killed all over the place or something, even though they should look at their suicide rates of the trans people. How come they're killing themselves so much? I don't know. Stop the violence against yourself. Stop pumping yourselves with hormones and killing yourselves. So here's more, right? They have a how to resist transphobia and gender fascism. And they've got, it's a whole organized operation. There's like 300 of the magazines over there. Some are very old, some are quite new, and they're organizing, they're armed up. They basically are revolutionaries, okay? They want to take over the country. It's an anti-American terroristic group, if you wanted to say that, because they want to overthrow the government. So they said that the J6ers were leading an insurrection in America. They didn't have anything even remotely close to this. Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, when they just took over certain portions of cities. Remember that? Where was the insurrection crying about that? Nowhere. The People's Republic of Capitol Hill. It's our land now. It's like a literal insurrection. And they just looked the other way on it, and they just were upset about a 4-hour riot. So we know what's happening. Shout out to Data Republican and to Jamels for these awesome reports and for sharing these things. Those are at the top of our timeline if you want to follow those along. Same with L's post, so you can read some of the literature over there and familiarize yourself with these people. Now, here's more from Data Republican. She also says, major breaking part 2. There was a 2025 trip of these armed queers, and they went to Cuba. And here's what they said on their trip. Well, if we're terrorists, we're proud to be terrorists. And she's got the deleted video. There's this one, Aria, Fenian, and an unidentified man named Connor. They talk about a bunch of things. The Palestinian students at Cuba's ELAM, they're studying revolution in foreign countries, and we invite them in. Oh yeah, no, diversity is our strength. Bring them in here. Alongside medicine as well. Brigadistas from around the world being brought in for revolutionary orientation, okay, to overthrow America. How every aspect of Cuban society is dedicated to training organizers. I've been to Cuba. I was very fortunate. I went on a kind of adult field trip down there, and there's nothing to preach about, quite honestly. It's a dump. Beautiful country, amazing people, but communism is a dump, okay? And are open about the terrorist label to the point they lament U.S. institutions do not allow them to speak in such a way. Very upset. So I guess they're going to shoot people in the neck. Now, the trip was run through the National Network on Cuba, linked to the Cuban state, has the U.S. NGOs as members, many of whom are linked to Neville Singham's NGOs. And we saw Luna was demanding that guy get investigated over from China, and his financial networks also get unearthed. Now, the armed queers is currently under federal investigation, and Fenian was honored by Utah Global Diplomacy, a State Department connected non-governmental organization, NGO. Now, not to be confused with Andy No. These are the people who are handpicked to run our State Department. As always, patience as the thread comes together. And so here's a little short clip.
I think that school really probably forms consciousness for a lot of people.
I was really surprised by how seamlessly this all happened, and they're talking about why they were there, and she then starts to say,
and I think that was also what's so cool about Mayday Brigade, which...
Oh my gosh, is that a dude? All right, anyways, so I don't know. In the above video, she also describes how Palestinian med students in Cuba studied revolution alongside medicine, and how they were recruited for revolutionary orientation. Now, in the same deleted video, they recount Cuban med students declaring, if we're terrorists, then we're proud to be terrorists, at an official school event. And the transcript is there, says, before I go, I'm using John Solomon, and John Solomon is also digging into that. So shout out to John Solomon. Says, yep, armed queers, says they're fighting capitalism, and their Facebook page exists. Their public Instagram was deleted, and videos have been scrubbed all off the place, off the internet. How come? Yep, very curious. All right, so that's what is happening with the armed queers. They've deleted a bunch of stuff. We had this report also from Rocky Mountain Voice saying that they were training, I think, near where Charlie was killed. They posted photos. They have their core principles. We've read through them. And so you get the gist. Enough of the armed queers. We got it. Now, Andy was posting this. Andy No. He said, after J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller promised to crack down on violent criminal far-left networks, Crimeth Inc., the collective that acts as the voice of American Antifa, is afraid. They say radical leftists haven't done anything wrong, and that this is like Adolf Hitler consolidating power. They operated openly. They incited violence on this platform for many years until Elon took over, and they've mostly been banned here, but they still run Think X Workers. Now, the group makes and disseminates attack guides and radicalization text used by Antifa to recruit people. They also make guides on how to procure and make your own cross-sex hormones. One of its leaders is called Shane Becker. What are these people doing to themselves? Its texts have been linked repeatedly to criminal, violent cells and networks. They claim 2019 Antifa gunman as theirs was one of their own. So don't know if Kash Patel's looking into it. Hopefully they are. Crimeth Inc. And they're saying, we're freaked. We must not simply identify this as fascism. We must act accordingly while there is still time. What does that mean? You're going to go shoot some more conservatives? So these groups are everywhere. And we also had questions about this fella who is George Zinn. And I looked up his case today to see if he's gotten charged with obstruction. Still nothing filed in Utah that I can see, and I haven't seen much here. But now it's being reported that when he does get charged, we're seeing some leaks about what this was. And this guy, George Zinn, who was arrested, apparently was actively trying to distract the cops. So he was a part of it by his own admissions. They say during a police interview, Zinn admitted, I did not kill Charlie, but he said he wanted to cause a distraction, okay? To draw attention from the real shooter. That's a co-conspirator in this. Even if it's not exactly connected, what was he doing? Was he also part of somebody else talking talking to him? Like, is it compartmentalized in some way? The faux shooter made similarly strange and opaque comments after being transported to a local hospital, saying he wanted to be a martyr for the person who was shot. Those court papers stated. We haven't seen him yet. Police said his initial comments delayed the investigation into Kirk's killing and took up law enforcement resources. He's charged with obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony, and here's his mugshot. He said he shot him, but I don't know, said some officer. His image spread across the internet. Many thought he was the assassin, but he was a political gadfly, and we've got all of his details over here on the Substack as well, including his old charges. So you have this table of contents over here, and we've got one of the witnesses is George Zinn, and there it is, George Zinn right here. So we got his original charges, and this guy's got a laundry list of just criminal cases out of Georgia. You can see this is the docket for all the cases. Bunch of these filed 22, 16, 15, 13, all the way back to 1995. He was charged with trespass earlier in August. And so once he gets charges, we'll keep this updated. But that's who we've got, who is now admitting essentially that he was a distraction. He was part of the operation, you know, whether he was on his own or whatever. He wanted to interfere with the finding, the discovery of the actual shooter. And so Benny Johnson clipped this one from us from yesterday. We saw Dan Bongino was out on with Fox News talking about the Kirk assassination.
There appear to have been multiple warning signs. You just laid out some of them. There were people in his network, friends and family, who had stated that he had become more political, that he had become, at some parts, I believe some of his coworkers had stated that he had kind of detached himself when the topic of politics came up and walked away from them. Family members said he'd become more political, leading us to believe that this ideology that infected him and had taken over, and he was just intent, it appears, from the data we've accumulated and the channel and that note, which we have some evidence may have existed before based on the communications in that channel, that his target was obviously going to be Charlie and that people knew in advance. The question is, again, I just want to go back to what you asked before. Did they know? Were they sure of this? Or did they hear this and just write it off? That's what we're going to have to find out. And that's what we're investigating now. Bill, this investigation is just begun. This isn't even the beginning of the beginning. You know, yes, we have a subject in custody. You know, everybody's innocent until proven guilty in our constitutional republic. However, this is not done by any stretch. Men and women out there in the Bureau have worked tirelessly all weekend. I just got back to D.C. last night. You know, Cash and I were out there on the scene. We walked the scene. We went through every single component of it. We saw the evidence up close and personal, and we went out there to be able to make command decisions with our team on the ground. And I think the process, although not perfect, of course, I think the process went pretty well considering we got him in 33 hours.
Okay, yeah. 33 hours, and luckily Dad was helping with that. So here was the FBI as well, on with Chris Cuomo. Vigilant Fox clipped this one for us, and here's what the FBI had to say about this recently.
Charlie Kirk's murderer. Do you believe it was just this individual, or is there proof that there may have been a group behind it?
We have forensic evidence that ties this individual to Charlie Kirk's murder. It's an ongoing investigation. Because the arrest is made doesn't mean the investigation's over. So we are looking at everything. It's been out there that he was on gaming platforms or other social media. We continue to investigate those. At this point, I can tell you we are very confident in saying he was the lone gunman and the lone actor on campus. Now, if people influenced him leading up to, or, you know, his mindset or whatever, we're still digging into that. And we're going to investigate every lead. We're going to interview everybody we can find to talk to him. And we're not discounting that, but we have no evidence to lead towards that presumption right now.
Charlie Kirk's murderer.
Okay, so pretty quiet in terms of identifying anybody else or giving us hints that it's going that direction. It's just kind of the standard stuff. Ongoing investigation. We're going to keep looking into it. But here was more. We saw yesterday there was a major Discord group that came out. Gunther Eagleman clipping this one, saying yesterday we heard that there were more than 20 people in that Discord group and that the shooter, Tyler Robinson, made a confession. Actually was there saying, sorry guys, I did it. You know, thanks for all the fun and laughs. You know, thanks for help, whatever. And he made those posts. Now, some people were saying, oh, those are just jokes. These are just people just, you know, it's kind of like, okay, you killed him, you know, okay, whatever, you killed him and all the things. Or maybe not, right? Maybe it's actually they knew about this and they were encouraging him to do it. We want to know who was in that Discord group. Were there any feds in there? What was going on? So Holly was asking Kash Patel about this in a Congress in the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing today.
It's done in this investigation. It's the FBI investigating the Kirk assassination as part of this broader pattern of anti-religious, anti-Christian violence.
We are investigating Charlie's assassination fully and completely and running out every lead related to any allegation of broader violence, and we're producing results on that we'll disclose when appropriate.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Let me just ask you a few questions about that if I I could. Reports have suggested that the FBI is investigating a broader network of groups that may have had some knowledge of the shooter's plans. Can you give us any details on that, following up what you already said in public? How's the FBI working to find other potential accomplices, folks who may have known about the shooter's plans, folks who may have encouraged him? Any update on any of that?
So in terms of what we do for an interrogation perspective, we go and reach out to the family and community immediately. And we've conducted those investigations and interrogations with local law enforcement, and we're continuing to do that because those closest to the suspect are going to hopefully know the most about the suspect and his beliefs and his ideology. On top of that, unfortunately, it has been leaked that there was a Discord chat, and for those unfamiliar with it, it's a gaming chat room online that the suspect participated in. So what we're doing, we've already done is serve legal process, not just on Discord, so that the information we gathered is sustained and held in a evidentiary posture that we could use in prosecution should it be decided to do so. And we're also going to be investigating anyone and everyone involved in that Discord chat.
Okay, very good. I see the public reports that the Discord thread had as many as 20 additional users. It sounds like you're trying to run down all of that to see if that's accurate, who else may have been on that thread, what they may have known. Is that fair to say?
It's a lot more than that, and we're running them all down.
It's a lot more than 20?
Yes, sir.
And you're running all of that to ground?
Every single one.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, interesting. So more than 20. What size group was this? And the bigger the group gets, the more likely it was filled with feds.